Welcome everybody. A quick introduction. I'm Sharon Rose and I'm a product consultant at Freshsales. Thank you everyone for joining us today for the Workflow Automations webinar by Venkat, who is a product and onboarding expert of Freshsales. I also want to let you know that this webinar is being recorded. So if any of you are interested in listening to the webinar again, we will be providing you with a link to the recording by next week. I'm going to quickly brief you through the webinar agenda where we would be having an introduction on how workflows can help, followed by a walkthrough of this feature, and then we wrap with a question and answer session. Now that most of you are here and settled, once again, welcome. We are so thankful to you all today for taking the time to join us. So I don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Venkat, who is going to be doing the webinar today. Venkat, over to you.
Uh, Thank you, Sharon. So I'm just going to go ahead and start presenting the screen here. I'm guessing you are able to see my screen already. So what I'm going to do here is just to give you a quick introduction to what workflows are and how it can help you. And we're going to give a few examples of how it could help. For the sake of simplicity, we have divided the kind of examples into basic, intermediate, and advanced. So just to let you know what kind of customizations you can do or what kind of day-to-day workflows you can achieve with the workflows, and just so that you have a clear sense of what workflows are. Right, so this should be a little explanatory, but self-explanatory, but then I'm going to give a quick introduction here. So sales team generally, the way the sales process generally has evolved from what it was 10 years back. So back then you had a specific set of leads and you know who your prioritized leads are. But with the amount of marketing efforts going in today, you have a huge velocity of leads coming in for your sales team, and they have to handle such huge inflow of leads in a much efficient way. The whole sense of emergency to connect with prospects is multifold, and salesperson should automatically update his or her leads, send emails, set up the follow-up emails, set up the follow-up tasks or appointments, and there's a whole bunch of activities that they have to keep a track of at the back of their head, which is kind of overwhelming for a salesperson. So, and the perspective of the CRM has also evolved. Back then, CRMs were used as a data management application, so customer profile information management. But right now, salespeople look up to CRM as productivity tools. They look up to the CRM and have the CRM guide their day-to-day process. And that's exactly what we're going to cover today. So, question is, what are workflows? So to put it in a single line, it's a powerful rule-based automation engine. You can have conditions followed by actions. For the tech buffs out there in this webinar, it's like if do this, if or if else do this. So just keeping it brief, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the value adds that you will be getting with this. So some of the key benefits that you would be getting when you're setting up a workflow to improve your productivity is very little data entry. Sometimes, you as a salesperson would be involved in updating notes, entering information about the lead, changing information within the CRM for a particular prospect. There's a lot of work going on, and these might be repetitive work. And the whole objective of the workflow is to make sure that you don't do this and the system does it for you. And likewise, it is going to make you even more productive so that you can focus on the selling side of your sales rather than the CRM side of sales, like entering information into the CRM. Now, some of the common actions that we have managed to understand that has been on everybody's salesperson, every sales team's asks where they want to send emails automatically. They want to create follow-up tasks automatically. They want to enter information automatically. And in fact, even integrate with other applications so that they have context. So these are some of the common asks across a lot of sales teams. And we have put together those in our workflows here today as well, and wanted to present some really good examples for you. So let's begin with a very basic example here. And this is probably something that you might do manually today, but let's talk about how and why we're automating this. Automatically sending an introduction email to your lead from the sales CRM. So whenever a lead comes in, it is the responsibility of your salesperson to get in touch with the lead, greet them, welcome them, and kind of understand what they want and how your business can help them in that aspect. But over the course of time, people have been getting a lot of leads, and the salesperson themselves have been trying to manually send these emails to these leads, welcoming them, just to keep the personalization aspect of your emails. So, since we are evolving, let's talk about how we can set this up inside Fresh Sales. And I'm just quickly going to shift to my Fresh Sales instance. I'm guessing you can see this. Right. So I am going to my Fresh Sales admin. This is, by the way, workflows are set up by the administrators of your account. So if you want something, if you're not the administrator, please request your administrator set it up for you. And here we go. Let me go with an example. You'll find this under the admin workflow. So I'm beginning with the basic one, the first one that we saw in the previous slide. Sending welcome emails automatically to the leads. So the objective is to make sure that you get in touch with your prospect as soon as you can, and that's what we're doing here. And here, you're working on a lead. You're going to set up the workflow on a lead. So I'm just saying, when a lead is created, when a record is created for a lead, you automatically send an email to the lead. So under list of actions, you will have quite a few actions, but in this case, you're talking about sending an email to the lead, and it's an introduction email. So I'm just saying, send an introduction email from on behalf of the record owner to the customer, and it also includes your email signature and tracks your email as well. That's very straightforward and a standard setup, right? So the emails that you will be sending to your prospects or your leads has to be created as email templates beforehand. So I have created a few emails, just like follow-up emails and a set of further follow-up emails and reminder emails as such. So you will find them under email templates. And once you have your emails created, you could use email templates created. You can use them in the workflows. So in this case, whenever a lead is created, an email is automatically sent to the lead welcoming them. So let's take a look at what the email looks like, and also demonstrate it with an example here, just to show you how it works. So this is the email that I created. So I'm just saying, hi, so and so. This is John from Acme Incorporated. I would like to be your point of contact for your evaluation period, etc., etc. So this is an instant email that goes out, and let's test it out. Let me create a new lead in the CRM, and this applies to any source the lead comes in from. So the system just understands what it is. So I'm just going to say I'm creating a new lead called John Doe, and it's assigned to Joseph Kenneth. I'm just going to use my personal email address in this case and create a lead, right? So as soon as the lead is created, as you can see here, the email has been sent. And I'm trying to show you that I have also received this email on my personal email address. So as you can see, this workflow has triggered an email as soon as the lead is created. It's a very straightforward use case scenario. Right, so going forward, if you have huge bunch of leads coming in, please make sure that you use your workflows to ensure that you get in touch with them as soon as you could, so you could benefit from that. Right. Here's another example. email automatically update the lead based on the activity, right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been working on leads. And if you notice that there is new, there is contacted, there's these are different lead stages, and of course, you would have seen this in the past, you would have used this in the past. This is to help you understand how good, how far is your conversation progress with them, right? Now that you have sent them an email, let's say they reply to your email, it naturally means that you've contacted them or you're in touch with them. So we have set up a workflow in this case, automatically update the lead stage to contacted if an email is received from the lead. So we're just saying here, under the conditions again, if lead stage is new and the contact mode is replied. So you will have a huge list of conditions that you can play around with, but just giving you some common examples that I wanted to make sure that is present in this webinar so it's easy for you. So here the conditions are that when the last contact mode is replied, which means the lead has replied to your email and lead stage is new, progress it to the next stage that is contacted. So we can do this with a very simple setup, simple test. So I'm just going to say probably, let's say I'll reply to one of the emails that lead is sending, right? And I'm going to be playing the lead as well in this case. So let's go ahead and take a look and search for the lead that we just previously used, right? So let's say I'm going to reply to this email. When I reply to this email, you'll of course see the conversation, the response coming in here, and not just that, the stage will be automatically set as contacted. So let me go ahead and reply from my personal email address from my mobile phone right here, and that should update the lead stage as contacted. So this is to make sure that everything is smooth as silk. So give me a moment while I reply from my personal email address. So I'm pretty sure that you probably would be taking notes. If so, just to let you know that you can also have this webinar uh, be available as a recording for you, so that you don't have to worry about keeping a track of all these examples. We also have published a few articles on some of the frequently used use cases, some of the frequently used workflow requests. So feel free to take a look at our blogs. And all right, I'm replying from my personal email address. All right, there we go. So we now have the contact stages automatically set as contacted because the lead has replied, and that is the intention of the workflow. So it is to make sure that the lead stages are automatically tracked. The lead stages are, automatically progressing to the next stages based on the activity that you have set up. So here is the example. Just to kind of give you a quick recap of this example again. Last contact is replied mode. Last contacted mode is just to tell you that what was the last kind of conversation, right? Now let's go ahead and take a look at the next example. And this is once again a very basic example here. So differentiating contacts as customers versus prospects. And most of you will be working based out of your contacts because contacts are your qualified leads. And you will be working on all your contacts in here. So one thing that you probably would be noticing here is you never know. I mean, at a quick glance, you probably would not know which contact of yours is an actually paid customer. And that's why we have a field called status, which tells you what kind of a customer it is, right? And we have quite a few customers, lost one, right? And there could be different kinds of, this status field is going to help you classify. Let me just, put us a little closer to you so that it's easy for you to quickly refer. So you can see, it's a customer, is it a, lost contact, etc., etc. So in this case, it's absolutely essential for you to keep a track of who is your paying customer and who is not. And that's something you don't have to do manually, but instead you can do it automatically and the system does it for you. And you just go ahead and set it up a very basic workflow in here. So you just say if deal is one, if that particular contact's deal is one, then you automatically set the status of that customer. And don't confine yourself to just one condition or one action. You can, of course, do a chain of conditions and a chain of actions. As you can see, once there is a status as customer, I'm not just stopping there. I'm also adding one more action saying send an email to the contact thanking them for choosing us. Right? So here's how you could use a chain of actions as a part of your workflow. Now, here is what you also might be interested to take a look at, which is the and or. So let's say you're doing more than one condition in here. So you can choose an and or flip switch, which is basically and referring to both the conditions being satisfied for the actions to be working, or you can choose or just to choose one of your conditions to be working. So this will be really helpful when you want to be really flexible with your conditions here. So that's about it on the basic setups and some of the basic examples that I could suggest for uh, workflows on this webinar. Now let's take a look at intermediate use cases in the sense that some really common use cases, but you think is difficult, but then again is going to be very easy setting it up. Right. So let's say certain businesses are subscription-based businesses, or let's say their annual contract is about to expire. And in this case, you might want to send them automatic emails that the renewal is up for subscription, or you probably would want to have your salesperson follow up with your current customer saying, hey, it's about to come. You might want to follow up with your existing customer to let them know that the subscription is about to come to an end or that contract is about to come to an end. And this is primarily a date field. So when you're working on a particular deal, let's say, for example, I'm opening a particular deal that you are currently working in, right? And this is almost negotiated, and let's say it's won. You're winning it today. 1 year from now, you will have another renewal contract, and of course, that is going to be a part of a contact, right? So you'll have that information on that contact mentioning that the renewal date is up. So I have created a field called renewal subscription date in here. So I've called this remind salesperson on an upcoming renewal subscription. So for a deal, if subscription date is going to come up in 10 days, that is, if subscription end date is in 10 days, you automatically create a task, and this task is going to say renew subscription, and it is going to be assigned to the respective salesperson requesting them to follow up with customer. But at the same time, we can do one more thing. We can send an email to the related contacts, that is a customer, and asking them, probably, hey, your subscription is about to come to an end in 10 days. Do you want to renew your contract or renew your subscription? This is once again a good example that I thought I could recommend. And don't think of this, don't confine your thoughts to just subscription dates or renewal dates. Let's say you probably have an end date or something, a deadline date that you have to meet, and you have that information. So you could think of this as primarily a date field, and you can do automation, you can do condition checks even on date fields to make it even better, to make your workflows even better, right? Next up, follow up on stale deals, and this is very common, I would say, because you as a salesperson would be working on hundreds of deals in a year, and over the course of time, you would be forgetting on some of the deals that you were speaking actively at a point in time, but they went missing in action or they have not responded to you for quite some time. And let's say your average sales cycle is about 2 to 3 weeks, and it takes about 6 to 7 weeks, and still there's no progress on the completion of a deal. This is really common, and it would definitely be helpful if these inactive deals, if these stale deals show up on the salesperson's list of notifications, to let them know that, hey, this is a deal that has not been progressing, you might want to follow up. So you can pretty much say in here, if deal stage is in the negotiation phase, and it's been about 20 days, right? That the age has been 20 days, or you can probably even use something like deal stage updated is greater than 20 days, right? Something like this. So you know that the last update on the deal stage happened 20 days back and is not moved from the negotiation stage 20 days back. That was the last time there has been a progress on the deal, there's been a work on the deal. So you automatically send an email to the salesperson requesting them to follow up with that particular customer and see how you can progress it to closure. So that's a really good example. That's a very common example that I thought. It's a really great challenge. That's why I classified it as intermediate difficulty. But you know how easy it is. You can see how easy it is to set it up inside the workflow interface for you. So it's just a simple, think of this as the if section and think of this as the action section. So triggers, actions, right? And let's get to the next example in this list here. We have advanced use cases, and this is something that is really would require the help of technical team, but then again, it's a very straightforward ask. So let's say certain businesses use SMS as a mean of communication, and this is where I'm talking about integrating with other applications to use this service. So basically, you might want to send an email to your customer thanking them for becoming for choosing you. And right now, you probably can use our native send an email to the customer as an option, right? If status is customer, you probably would be using send an email to the contact saying, thank you for becoming our customer, thank you for choosing us, the experience is going to be better from here, etc. But let's say you prefer adding them to your marketing application or sending them an email, you might want to integrate with another application, and that's when the trigger webhook comes into place, right? So trigger webhook is a mean, to put it in simple English, it's the action that is there to allow you to integrate with other applications. So here, I am integrating with Twilio, one of the leading cloud SMS and VoIP service provider. I've integrated my Twilio account in here, and the SMS body is saying, hey, thank you for choosing Acme. Feel free to call us at this number if you need support. So this is going to ensure that you can, sorry, to ensure that not only confining yourself within the CRM, you can also use the workflows to do your work outside of the workflow to carry forward your automated tasks even outside of your CRM. Another great example here that I want to talk to you about is this is probably a niche use case, especially with big businesses, because we have different kind of audiences here in the webinar. I was making sure that I cover basic use cases as well as advanced use cases, and this could be a part of both teams, right? So let me give you some background on why this use case even came up. There's always a pre-sale team that helps you, a sales team that helps on the initial closure of the customer, beyond which the customer support takes it forward. But in case of projects, in case of implementations, right, there needs to be an implementation process as well. And that's why we even allowed you to have multiple pipelines, one for the sales pipeline, right? Let's just call this the sales pipeline, right? So the sales is completed, and once that is completed, it has to pass on to the customer success, or let's call it the project implementation pipeline. So where you nurture the account, you review their goals periodically, etc. Right? So ultimately, to give you a sense here, you'll be working on your deal section, and once a deal has been completed and marked as one, it has to go on to the next pipeline, that is the project implementation pipeline, where they will be further taken forward by the project team. So instead of you as a salesperson having to worry about moving into the next pipeline, you can instead program the workflow to do that on your behalf. And this is once again a very straightforward ask. So you just say, um, hey, whenever a deal is won, that is sales pipeline, it has been marked as one, you trigger webhook. You ideally clone. So if you notice, we're just communicating within the workflow in itself and saying, hey, clone this particular deal into the project implementation team's pipeline so that they could take it forward from there. So I'm just giving the numbers for the IDs for the project implementation pipeline, which we have documented for you in the API documentation to go through all this. But once again, this is why I've classified this in the advanced category, because this would require a little bit of help. But going by some of the common actions that people often use, we are naturally bringing them under the action. So right now we have about few actions like updating the deal, updating the account, updating the contacts, trigger webhook for sending communicating with other applications, and you have send an email to the salesperson, send an email to the contact, create a task, etc. And under the conditions, you have a ton of conditions that you can use from, right? Pretty much any custom field that you add as well can be used as a condition in there to go ahead and use it and do a workflow based on it. Right. So those are some examples that we have classified that we thought we would use for your workflows. I'm just going to quickly leave it at the workflow section for you to take a look at all the examples.
Perfect. So, thank you so much, Venkat, and thank you, folks. And as promised, all of you will get a recording of this webinar by next week so that you can watch the webinar again when you need to. If you have any further questions about Fresh Sales, please feel free to reach out to support@freshsales.io. I repeat, it's support@freshsales.io. I know you guys are joining from around the world, so have a good morning, night, and afternoon. We look forward to seeing you folks soon.
Thank you. And just to give you an update, we are also having a GDPR webinar this week. You'll probably be getting invites, or you can just go to Fresh Sales and there'll be a webinar section, and you'll be having, our, best practices for GDPR and what we have done to be GDPR compliant, and also some regular sales practices for GDPR. So feel free to have a look at that webinar as well if you're interested. All right. Thank you so much for joining once again. You guys have a lovely day. Bye bye.